Hello, it's Scott Dikkers here. How are you? Thanks for joining me. Nobody's joined me yet. Just got on, 0 viewers. Looking good. So I am going to talk in this video about how to deal with haters. A lot of people in the comedy business, people who are writers, people who perform, worry about people hating their work and criticizing their work and making them feel terrible about their work, so they don't put themselves out there. And it stops a lot of people, this fear of criticism, of hatred from the potential audience. So I've been dealing with haters for decades, and I feel like I've really cracked this particular nut where it just is not an issue for me. And I've had my fair share. I've had hecklers on stage. I've had people walk out en masse. I once had almost half of an audience leave. They just hated me so much. And I learned a valuable trick from Steve Martin that I'll tell you about in one of the tips about how to deal with that. But it happens not just in performing, but in writing too. You write something, you put it out there, you get negative feedback, or you make a video and you get a negative comment on YouTube. You write a book and you get a negative 1-star review, or whatever the case. It's a thing that happens, and there are ways to deal with it. There are ways to enjoy it, believe it or not. This is something that you have to get a handle on if you're going to build a body of work, and if you're going to do comedy especially. Comedy is supposed to be fun. We're supposed to be having fun doing it. The audience is supposed to be fun listening to it. So when you get this really dark, negative energy from someone just hating your being, hating everything about you, it makes it really tough to proceed and maintain that kind of level of playfulness that makes it feel worthwhile and remain fun. So I hope these tips are helpful to you. Let me know in the comments as we go along, and I'll respond to you if there's not too many of them. So tip number 1, we'll get started right here. Just realize that nobody cares. When you do a performance, when you write a piece, when you make a video and you put it out there, literally nobody cares. Now, this may not be a confidence builder for you. For some people this is, but for others, this may be like, well, I want people to care. I want people to love what I do. Of course you do. But at first, there's probably not going to be a lot of people who love what you do. The common reaction you're going to get when you first are starting out putting stuff out there is indifference. People are going to be like, they don't care. And just know that there are billions and trillions, quadrillions of bits of information that translate into entertainment through the internet and through, radio, TV, movies, stage, etc. Every day, every second. There's way too much. There's just a barrage. Nobody cares, okay? They've got their own lives. They've got their own problems. They're worried about themselves. They don't care about you or your work. Have fun. Just be yourself, have fun, and do your comedy. And don't worry, because nobody really is watching. That's kind of the attitude you have to have. Hey, I'm just having fun here. Nobody's watching. So I'm just going to have fun, and I don't care. They don't care. I don't care. That's tip number 1. Well, tip number 2, nobody's paying attention. Nobody's watching your career. Nobody's following you. When we put ourselves out there, we have this fantasy, all of us, I think, that someone is out there scrutinizing every little thing that we're doing and saying, oh, I see you're doing this now. You were doing that before. Oh, I don't like this. Nobody's paying that close attention. People are barely aware that you exist. 99.999% of people don't know you exist. So this should further fuel this idea inside you that you're alone. You're just having fun. You're in your bedroom talking to your mirror. Okay, you're writing in your private journal. Yeah, you happen to be putting it out there. You're putting it, maybe submitting it to a place like, Medium or one of the humor publications, or maybe you're getting on stage or you're putting it on YouTube or whatever. But if you have that attitude that it's just you playing in front of the mirror in your room, you're going to do great. First of all, the audience likes that. They like that quality of you being totally in your zone, doing your thing, having fun, and not really being concerned about them. it's just going to make your work better, and it's going to make you a more interesting writer, performer, etc. So nobody cares. Nobody's paying attention. Just do your thing. Okay. Those are my first 2 tips. And we're going to get a little more specific with each one of these tips as we go. Third tip is now, so we're getting into an actual acknowledgement of the fact that there might be some negative criticism, there might be some haters, might be some hecklers, etc. You have to make sure you put it in your mind that it's about them and it's not about you. What kind of monster, what kind of loser screams at someone or writes a negative comment for someone who's just trying to have fun? Like, that is a person with problems, okay? That's a person who needs help or who is drunk and who is not worth listening to or engaging with. So it's very important that you have this clear idea in mind of them being in their own little sphere of issues and you being in your sphere of doing what you want to do and having fun and not caring about their sphere. That, again, is going to be an attractive quality if you're performing, especially on stage. If someone's heckling you and they're drunk, the audience doesn't like that person any more than you do. It makes them uncomfortable. They want to see you. They want to see you performing. They don't want to hear from this idiot. If somebody writes a negative review of your book or posts a negative comment on a video or posts a terrible review of your podcast on iTunes or whatever, they're having a bad day. And that's all there is to it. People have bad days. It's something that happens. It doesn't affect you. We're going to get to some more detailed tips now as we move to number 4, the 4th stage of grief, if you will, acceptance. So there are haters. Okay, there are people who are having bad days. There are people who are jerks. There are people who just want to mess with you and make your life hell because they're terrible people. The sooner you can accept that reality, the better. And just know that when you put yourself out there, they will be there. That doesn't mean you have to acknowledge them. It doesn't mean you have to do anything special. Just the act of knowing that they will be there and that they are something that you should expect is powerful, because it can give you a sense of calm to know, they're just part of the landscape. It's like, look at this beautiful landscape. There's grass, there's trees, there's a deer bounding over a lovely, wooden picket fence. And then down in the corner there's a little turd. Beautiful blue sky, lovely bird song. The heckler is that turd, okay? It's part of the scenery. You can focus on it and get really upset. Oh my God, there's turd in the world. Or you can enjoy the beautiful grass and the blue sky and the beautiful deer and everything else. This is what I mean by accepting them. They are part of the world, and there's really nothing we can do about it. So acceptance is the first step to conquering a fear of them. One step beyond acceptance is kind of celebrate them in a way. Now, you don't necessarily want to enjoy someone else's suffering most of the time, but if someone's making your life hell by leaving negative reviews, being a jerk, etc., you are entitled to be entertained by their stupidity, to think they're funny, and to laugh at them. It's okay for them to be an object of ridicule, especially on stage during stand-up. When someone heckles you, they are putting themselves out there just like you're putting yourself out there being on stage. They are deciding to be a part of this show, and therefore they are fair game. And you can mock them and you can make fun of them. And we've talked about how to deal with hecklers on this channel before. But the main things are, you don't want to engage with them. You don't want to talk to them. You can throw an insult or two, but move right along. Don't let them take over the show by any means. Do never, ever give them the mic. Never do the thing where it's like, hey, you think you can do this? Come on up here. Once you give them the mic, you give them the power. So keep the mic, keep your power. Steve Martin's tip, which I used when I was bomb, the worst I'd ever bombed, when half the audience literally walked out in disgust at my act. I used his advice and it worked great. His advice is pretend like your act is going great and the audience loves it, and just keep going. And it's kind of an acting job. It's a psych out where you're up there just having fun, doing your thing. And he did that for many years, performing the same act that made him intensely famous in the late 70s. He did that same act for tiny clubs of 2 or 3 drunk people who didn't laugh once. And that's what he did. He just pretended like everything was going great. Because again, ultimately, that's what the audience wants. They like seeing that kind of confidence. They want to show. They don't want to see somebody get sad up there. So there's a little detour on just how to deal with hecklers here. But when you're coming up with like a way to shoot down the heckler, you probably want to have 2 or 3 gags in your back pocket, but also just survey the scene and have an attitude of, oh my God, this person is ridiculous and hilarious, and I'm going, to mock them, or I'm going to shoot them down. Even in print, Patton Oswalt did this wonderful thing where someone sent him a message or a post on one, I think it was on his Instagram. And the message is something like, I hate you and everything about you. It's just the overall essence of you. You're the worst or whatever. And it was just a terrible hater comment. And he posted it on Instagram. So he was entertained by it. Patton Oswalt is a master of the comedy arts, and there's so much to be learned from him. I talk about him. I tell this great story about him in my comedy business school course. This night that I went out with him and learned these critical lessons about like why he's such a big success. But he posted it on Instagram with his response. And his response was simply, how did the voice inside my head get an Instagram account? Perfect. Played right into his comic persona. He was mocking the person. He was being entertained by them. And it was beautiful. It was a beautiful thing. Moving on. Tip number 6. Okay, easier said than done, but you do need to develop a thick skin when it comes to haters. How do you develop a thick skin? You have to expose yourself to more haters. The more haters you get, the less they will affect you. So think of it as reps. When you start out, you go out there for the first time, you do some comedy, you get a negative reaction, it's going to hurt. Most of us, it's going to hurt. That's you going to the gym for the first time and, lifting a little bit of weight and then being terribly sore the next day. The next time you get a hater, it's not going to hurt as bad. The third time, still not going to hurt as bad. So it's going to get better and better and better. That's how you develop a thick skin. Super important. And if you've followed my work at all, you know that I'm a big believer in just putting the work out there. Put yourself out there. Have fun. Do your comedy. Don't let anybody stop you. If you do that, you will occasionally get a hater. And that's how you develop a thick skin. You read it, follow through all the other tips, accept it, realize no big deal. He's got his own problems, and try to be entertained by it. And over time, it won't even faze you. You won't see it, just like you don't see the turd in the pasture in the beautiful scene I painted earlier. Going one step further beyond developing a thick skin is developing confidence. Once you have confidence, which you also get from repeatedly putting yourself out there and doing more work and getting more experience dealing with this onslaught of haters, the more it's not going to hurt you. And the better your comedy is going to be, because audiences want someone who's confident. And that's whether you're performing or writing or whatever you're doing. They want a comedian or a comedy writer or an entertainer to be confident in what they're doing, to be a master of the craft. They want to know they're in good hands. They're giving something precious to you. They're giving you their attention, their time, their willingness to be entertained by you. They want to be held and taken by the hand and walked through a beautiful garden of laughs and jokes. And they want to know that you are capable of doing that. They want a daddy, basically, to take them by the hand and take them for a walk. And so that kind of confidence, that kind of unshakable Dick Cheney level confidence will make you impervious to any kind of hater, any kind of negative comment you might get. You're going to just be like, I know I'm doing what I like, and I know enough people like me, and whatever, they're out there, haters. What are you going to do? Which leads to our final tip. This is a formula that I worked out, and it's not scientific, but I believe in it. And that is, you're not going to just get haters. When you first start out, you're actually going to get a handful of people who really like you, like your friends. Maybe you bring some people to a bringer show, or the people in your, Facebook friend pile who show up to read your piece or whatever, read your book, whatever your work is. Those are the people that are going to pile up first, are people who really like you, likers, if you will. And my belief, and I've seen this happen over and over in all different media, you don't really start to get haters until you have about 50 solid fans, 50 likers. That's the ratio that you can kind of accept. It's kind of like the Pareto principle, the 80-20 rule. This is the, I don't know what you call this, the liker-hater principle. If you have 50 people who really like you, you will likely get one hater. So go back to an example like Patton Oswalt. He has how many followers on Twitter? Like 4 million followers. You do the math. That's a lot of haters. That's a lot of haters. So he has to have a thick skin. He has to not care. He has to have total confidence. And this tip number 8, just knowing that one hater equals 50 fans should make you feel warm and cozy inside, to know that you have 50 people who love you. And every time you see a new hater, think of it like, every time a bell rings, an angel gets his wings. Every time a hater leaves a comment, that's a bell. That means you've got 50 fans. You got 50 more fans. That's what that ratio means. So that way, every time you see haters comment, or every time you hear a heckle, you're going to hear that little bell like Jimmy Stewart in It's a Wonderful Life. You're going to see the hater as the wooden dowel on the top of that banister that he hated and he wanted to throw at one point in the movie, but then at the end, he kisses it like it's the greatest thing in the world. That's a real secret. If you can turn something that you're afraid of into something that you love and cherish, you've got a real good formula there. And this is that formula. This formula can help you do that. Those are my 8 tips. And I hope they are helpful to you in your comedy, whatever medium you might be doing. I did get some comments. I want to read through those and see what people are saying. Eric says, hello. Hello, Eric. Susan, you say, this is so funny. I've been having these same conversations with people this week. Susan runs Mudium on Medium, a comedy publication. At the end of the day, people care about themselves, not about you. Embracing these concepts, so freeing. Exactly. This is true not just in entertainment, but just in regular life, walking around. We're all self-conscious about ourselves. Like, oh, how do I look? Am I being weird or whatever? People don't care. They don't care about you. They care about themselves because they are thinking those same thoughts. They're walking through life thinking, well, how do I look? And are you worried about how they look? No, you're not judging. So it's really a mindset thing. It's a mindset shift. Adam, this is the worst porn ever. You're pulling your music from Spotify. I don't blame you. This is awful. There's not even any waka waka music. Boris, don't pull prematurely. Not sure what you mean by that. Susan, so we need more haters? Yes. You want more haters because that means you have more fans. So don't worry. The pendulum is never going to swing. The ratio is never going to move. I guess in the only instance it would ever move is if your work is really terrible and you start getting more haters than likers. Then what you need to do is retool your work. Okay, listen to the feedback. At that point, though, see, when I talk about haters, I'm not talking about like meaningful feedback or constructive criticism. You can get constructive criticism and meaningful feedback from your friends and your feedback group before you ever present your work on stage or to any kind of public forum. So once you've presented it to the public, you should have already gone through the stage of making sure it's pretty good. So, don't worry about that. But still, even if it doesn't work, if it's not getting any traction, or if you make a big mistake and it's just not working, you always need to be able to pull the plug on something and start something new. And that's just how it is. That's how comedy works. If you try something and it doesn't work, try something else, so don't worry about it. Adam, you're welcome. Kai Levin, the CV, I think that's your name. You're an Onion fan from 2001. Well, thank you very much. And everyone, thank you for watching. That's all the comments here. Thank you for watching. And if you want more tips on how to improve your comedy, you know where to go. You go to howtowritefunny.com. Tons of free resources there. And check out my books, How to Write Funny, and the new one, How to Write Funny Characters. If you want to develop comic characters, that is your Bible. And check out the courses on howtowritefunny.com. And join me here on YouTube. Don't forget to like this video. I see some of you liked it. Thank you very much. And subscribe to the channel for more comedy writing tips, performing tips on the How to Write Funny YouTube channel. And with that, I will say good night, good luck, and embrace and love those haters. They're having a hard day. So give them a little love. Take care, everybody.